Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of Talking to Artists. So today I'm actually doing this interview in what will hopefully, well actually will be my new art studio at the cottage, converting a cabin to our cottage. So pretty excited about that. I had a run in with a number of wild turkeys yesterday, which was kind of cool and sort of it's beautiful up here. Anyway, welcome to Talking to Artists, the basically the weekly podcast that talks to artists and people in the art industry, art dealers, galleries, people that help people with the business of art. And the goal is really just to have a casual conversation for artists that help them to kind of just accelerate their business a little bit. It's good for galleries and art galleries to kind of understand maybe what's out there, and for collectors to sort of get a bit of a better sense of what's going on kind of in the creative minds of artists. So today we're going to be talking to Paul Constable. Very excited to talk about him. He runs a dual role of, I guess, similar to myself, in that he's a full-time practicing artist. He also runs Artists in Canada, which is a great directory and resource for artists. So I'm just going to see if he has joined us already, and I will invite him in. Here he is. Going to wait for Paul, and hopefully no tech glitches. That's what we're hoping for. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Great.
I'm just going to turn the volume down a little bit. There you go.
Oh, maybe I'm too loud.
No,
I'm in kind of an echoey room. I didn't realize until I started that sort of the sound bounces a bit.
yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah.
I'm in the studio and my furnace will kick in every once in a while. So
Yeah, that happens.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
so I was just saying that you and I actually have kind of similar paths a little bit, in the sense that we kind of came from marketing communications kind of industry, and are kind of balancing full-time artist with kind of a role of helping artists with the business of art and youth through Artists in Canada. But I would love to actually first talk about your art. I didn't actually realize that you were based in Saskatoon, which is cool. But
Yeah. Well, I was a graduate of Alberta College of Art and Design. Moved to Saskatoon. It was close. And family was here, so I'm kind of an Air Force kid. So I kind of traveled the world. I've been in Toronto and London, Ontario, and Vancouver. So I've lived everywhere a little bit, even in Europe for 4 years. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I was too young. I wish I was a little older when I was there, but had a great time when I was young there. So that was fun. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, so I could certainly see the inspiration sort of when I was looking at your oil paintings, how you sort of capture that color palette and a lot of like wonderful yellows and golds and stuff of your landscape.
yeah, well, that's kind of a seasonal thing around here.
Oh yeah.
We don't. Well, I don't think there's many leaves left. There's just on the tail end of our fall, but we tend to get into the cadmiums, would be in the yellows and oranges, and we don't get a lot of those nice maple reds and the deep crimsons, like you go down east and the maple trees and such. So,
Yeah.
but I'm really
We're about a week away from it being glorious. Like, it's really quite beautiful. But the oaks with the bright reds and the sugar maples with those strong oranges are just starting to come out.
yeah. I'm almost sick of cadmium yellow right now. So I'm just
Is that
put it
possible?
away. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've turned more into I like more of a minimalist palette, so more analogous, I guess. I really love the grays of winter and some of those ochres that come through, and like a full palette
Cool
of gray.
blues and
The nice, like there's, as I say, there's 1,000 shades of white. Well, the same goes for gray. They glow. They make your work pop. Like if you got a really nice gray against your cadmium, and it's got a little tinge of that crimson in it, or magenta, or purple a little in there, just a touch on the undergray, that yellow just glows. I mean, you sort of know, like, if a fog comes in the late fall and you've got all those brilliant colors, but if you've got a gray sky that's just got a little bit of an underpaint in it, those yellows just glow forever. Like they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And they're not hard on your eyes. Like it's kind of, they soften with that gray, and it's just, so I've really been playing more with that, trying to figure out where I want to go with those things, because it's a constant evolving of what you do, and that's the painting aspect of what I do. But it kind of, I'm an illustration background in communications as well, so some of my works tend to be lyrical in nature, right? So one painting talks to the next painting, like, and you go in a series, not quite like you're illustrating a book, but you are telling a story within yourself from the pieces of work. And I found that
Well, it's a thought process, right? Like you're working through a story or an idea or a thought process, and for some artists, I think you can resolve that in one painting, and for other artists, I think it becomes kind of a series where the story reads from the beginning to the end.
Exactly. Unfortunately, with those ones, when a piece goes missing out of the show, you got like this tooth in the middle of your forehead that is this. There's something missing here, right? And somebody purchased that one piece. So I tend to like to.
But do other people see that? Do other people see that there's a gap, or is it just you because you know the full illustrative story?
Yeah. Well, I think probably me, unless they've seen published pieces of the work and say, "Where's that piece? And where's that piece?" Because a lot of times my shows, my work isn't really meant for above the couch. Like I don't paint for houses in public, and they're painted for exhibition, mostly public exhibitions. And so I'll make requests, fill out proposals and ideas, and I get a stack of no. Are you crazy? What are you talking about?
And how do you find those? I think I'd be interested in kind of understanding, how do you find those opportunities then?
You just keep pushing, right? It's meeting people, and you got to find a curator, and you've got to, if somebody that sees the way you want to go a little bit and says, "Oh, I can take that and give my vision to it," and get as long as you're willing to accept what the curator is going to curate about what you're doing. A lot of times they'll edit out the darn good pieces that you want to show. But what do you do?
It is interesting, though. But it is interesting, I find, because I've been in a couple of situations like that, too, where they take the show, they hang the show. I did one in Boston, and it was really weird because I'm kind of a control monger, and normally you have a vision of what's it's going to look like, what pieces go together, how it's going to flow, how the story's going to be. And they basically said, no, this is how we do it. Like, even though it's a solo show, we actually manage the curation. And it was so interesting because they put things together I never would have put together, including sizes and stuff, but it looked so cool. Like, I was really kind of quite happy for that experience, even though I had to kind of give up the reins a little bit.
I was almost to a point where I was going to get myself a pseudonym. Like, I was going to curate my show under another name. And that person never showed up anywhere, but it was, I'd have to go incognito somehow with a COVID mask. I could do it maybe with that.
Yeah, well, you could create a whole Instagram profile. I mean, I think Mike Pence's Fly already has a whole Twitter account, right?
Yeah, I am getting tired of the COVID stuff already, but it's just kind of, you know what? You have to look at it as it's a forced opportunity. And artists are always building work for the future. We always have more work than we can sell. So I think those are the things that we just keep. You can't stop. I mean, you just keep doing what you do, and it's nice to make a few sales and contacts. And I think social media has probably helped an awful lot in people accepting the way we are right now, because they've created a lot of friendships that maybe never would have been available before. So they've met more artists now than ever have communicated coast to coast, right? Just through social media.
Well, yeah, I agree. And I think too that certainly COVID has forced artists to take kind of the digital aspect of their business much more seriously. Whereas before it was like, I know I should, but I can go to a bunch of outdoor shows, I can meet a bunch of people, I can sell a lot of work, so it's not as important. Whereas now it's so critical. Yeah,
I think it gets you out of that regional artist, right? So you have to get, if you're going to be a national artist, you have to reach out somehow, and social media is a great way of doing that. I think otherwise you're just in Toronto or you're in Vancouver, and they know about you there. And unless somebody travels there and goes to your show, like, there's a lot of things they have to hit. The bells have to hit, bang, 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 if they're going to find you, right? Yeah. So they need to see the breadcrumb, and you've got to lay the breadcrumbs out for them. And the least amount of breadcrumbs the better it is, right? That's how the least amount of clicks to get to you. That's what you want to do.
Right.
So, but don't overthink it. Like that's the real problem. People try to get too sophisticated, they overthink it and put on everything. No, you don't need that. You don't, just stay to your ones that work for you, because it's an 80-20 rule on everything else, right? 80% of the work.
Well, and I think absolutely that whole aspect which is so important about trying to make it perfect or trying to make everything go out there. And I know for me, even this podcast, it was a brainchild of 2 years ago, but I'm like, well, I have to get a sound editor. I have to do all this stuff. And when COVID hit and I was just wanted to talk to people, right? It was like, you know what? Just do it. It's better to do it and have some issues rather than not do it, because you can never do it perfectly.
Right.
And I think that extends in social media and in, putting your work out there or doing your MailChimp or whatever. Like, really start to do it.
I know. Like last night, I cleaned my studio up. I was like, got to do something.
That means we get a tour, right? Oh. So we visit, yeah.
Phone calls. Phone call coming in.
Oh, is that what it was?
Turn that off. That was a
I'll put that in my notes next time. Yeah.
Yeah, no phone. How do you turn that off? But yeah. Anyway.
Okay, well, maybe you can, I'd love to know a bit about, we'll talk about artists in Canada, because that's a critically important part of, I think, what artists are desperately needing. But I'd actually just like to learn a little bit more about your art and maybe see your studio, because it's always lovely to be nosy and peek in someone else's studio.
I don't know if I could turn you around. Okay, so here's what we got there.
Oh, that's so cool. So this is your new studio space, right? Your new gallery?
I actually built the studio in 2007, and I didn't actually get into the studio till about 2009. Took 2 years to build. So I have 4 very large 4x4 windows that 16-foot ceiling, and
beautiful.
It's all the.
And so is it's your working studio as well as an art gallery?
No, it's just a working studio only. It's 18 by 24, so it's not huge, but
well, that's pretty big. In Toronto, that's a mansion.
Yeah. So there's, as every artist has, storage you run out of storage room.
Yeah.
I'll go back over some of the things that are sort of.
And do you work on multiple pieces at a time?
Lots of pieces on a time. I'm doing, a lot of my work is, it coincides with installation stuff as well. So there's the air exchanger, lighting, junk drawer. I mean, some of the paintings.
All important junk drawer. Yeah. Oh, very cool.
So some of the, I don't know, the landscapes that I work on. I'm walking around. I'll show you one painting here.
I love your giant eagle up there. Is that an eagle?
That is a crow or a raven.
A crow.
I can explain some of that. It's a part of a series. I don't know. That.
Oh,
I have to.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by your color palette.
Disconnect from this for a minute. I'm on the tripod. So, I don't know. Some of that, and then these birds here. So they're made.
Yeah, those are very cool.
They're made out of truck parts, bumpers and tires, and part of it was part of a series that I worked on. That it was addressing the amount of roadkill that we experience in Saskatchewan, especially in the prairies. Like millions of animals a year die from vehicle collisions, right? So it kind of bothered me quite a bit. So I thought, well, why not try and do something with it? So the first one, did lots of drawings, and it's carcasses. You're drawing deer and then the ravens are part of that thing, so they're part of the story. So it became more of a how the bones become part of the needed part of our land. They're they're fertilizer, but they're part of the infrastructure for the land, and they're needed. It's just that there's too much of it going on at the moment. Our vehicles and us living close to them has really accelerated the amount of animals. Like, you cannot imagine how many thousands of deer alone in this province that die from vehicles. They can't get across all the highways. They can't get across all the highways to go to water, to shelter, right? It's thousands.
And they don't have, like, I know in some places they have like tunnels underneath the roads that they kind of try and funnel the deer into. But is that just impractical in Saskatchewan because it's just too flat?
Do you ever see how flat our roads are? Don't.
Well, I was wondering, as I was talking, I'm like, well, that probably doesn't make sense.
And you know what? We have all those silly deer crossing signs. The deer don't go to the signs to cross the road.
Damn it.
So
they need to be educated.
So they've come up with all kinds of ideas and fencing, and they can jump over fences and stuff. So Anyway, the macabre part about the whole thing is I do these charcoal paintings, and then I said, well, why don't I twist that around? Why don't I take some car parts and make a carcass out of the car parts? So I create this great big thing out of car parts, that's carcass, and then I put an installation together with these birds above it, and then I have my two-dimensional show that hangs at the same time. So they get a real experience when people come to those shows, not only the visual, but they can walk around the sculptures as well, and I guess they can experience the actual vehicle that is turned into an animal, right? Or the carcass.
Well, it's kind of a wonderful poetry too, that you're in effect tearing apart the car to create the animal versus usually the animal is torn apart by the car. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice little play on visual imagery, but you make proposals to insurance companies and cell phone companies, and nobody wants to buy in on sponsorship for a great opportunity to have at an opening. These are the early days of driver's side, what do you call it? Disturbing the driver, right?
Right. Yeah.
And cell phones came in and they accelerated like astronomical. When phones came in 2008, the numbers tripled what they paid out in insurance policies, like millions and millions of dollars more, just when cell phones came out. Well, the cell phone companies don't want you to stop using the cell phones. They just want you not to maybe use them in the car. But how do you tell people not to do that? Well, we're going through.
I would argue too that the car is like my new car. It's like, would you like to have your text messages read to you and your emails read to you? And I mean, it's it's like candy in front of a child,
Yeah, they're addressing those situations now, but in 2008, then they weren't. The technology wasn't there for that, so they really don't want to admit that there's all these major problems. People are like, if you hit a moose, actually, there's an RCMP officer in the province that hit a moose a couple of years ago and he died. I mean, that moose comes right through the window because he's so tall. It's horrific. So you think it could happen to not only, well, he was probably on his computer, cell phone, whatever, doing business, and that moose just stepped out on the road on him in the country, and that was it. Yeah. So it happens to RCMP officers as well. Well,
and especially in a space or terrain that is so flat. It's not like you can't see them. Like in Ontario, certainly we don't really have moose where I am, obviously, but more deer. But they literally jump out of the woods. So it is very much of a surprise. And certainly you shouldn't be speeding, but sometimes they just appear so quickly. Whereas I've got to imagine, that you can kind of should be able to see them coming if you're in a flat environment.
No, but that's the surprising thing. There was really not, there's as much hilly land in Saskatchewan as there is flatland. The flatland's only south part of the province, like Regina South. You're not even halfway up the province when you get to Regina. So the hills, and they're in the ditches. You can't see them. And at night in the dusk, their eyes will reflect, but you got to watch for the eyeballs. And if you see the eyeballs reflecting then you have to slow down. So, but most people are doing that minimum 110, and they're trying to get to where they're going. And unfortunately, you take someone who's, say, a mother, or some kids driving their kid to a hockey game, from Regina, driving to a small town. She's now taken her driving skills of the city and trying to apply that to driving skills on the highway. Completely different driving skills, because at night and deer and animals, where in the city there are traffic lights and people stop, and we have a system to drive within the city generally, right? Crosswalks and slowing down, but highway we don't. So there's a learning thing. Anyway, that was part of my little educational thing that I did. And then I kind of do more like the environmental aspects of what we're doing. So I'll turn you around again here. Maybe I could. Oh darn! I was going to take it off the stand here. So I'm trying to figure out where I am here. So meat. Here we go.
I'm not sure if we lost him for a couple of minutes, but I'm sure he'll be back. I hope he'll be back. Hopefully a deer or a moose didn't get him. Okay, so obviously it's really hard to know whether or not it's, I'm in the country as well right now, so if it looks like it's Paul, okay. So I'm going to just actually re-invite him back, because it looks like we lost his connection. And hopefully we can resume the conversation, because I did want to really talk about artists in Canada as well. Hey, sorry, I guess you have to stay where you are.
I think it's the, anyway, I'll do it this way. So I build three-dimensional figures.
Oh, those are cool.
Out of, so this is Reg and Ethel. And, oh, there's Squeegee. Oh, there's Squeegee. There's Squeegee, the squeegee bucket. I'm trying to figure out where I'm doing. This is terrible.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Okay, so I'll just talk quickly about that. So this one came about, we had a major oil spill in our river, North Saskatchewan River. And so there was a call for entries and to address the situation. Well, I'll take a little bit more of a, not comical, but political cartoon style. So I also created a bunch of little cartoon books. And it's little word clouds. So these two talk all the time, very sarcastically. So I have Reg is kind of the, he's the corporate guy. He works for the company, the oil company, and they work for the company called Self-Serving. So part of it is this. I first do a little, where am I? God, I guess camera. I did a little maquette.
Oh, that's really neat.
So they're all done out of clay.
So the two of them
first.
talking.
Yeah, so I do them out of clay, and then I built these out of cardboard boxes. So yes, I went dumpster diving, and I found some nice boxes that I like, and I found some paper from a packing company, nice clean, and I paper mache and build these props, and then they become part of my exhibition show that goes around. And so and then I'll put them on social media as well. So I'll Photoshop them together, and they'll have conversations. They've actually joined the Green Party. And actually they have. They went, a Green Party representative here in Saskatchewan, and she's now the rep for the province for the Green Party. So Reg just converted over to the Green Party from the oil company that he worked for. And so they have these funny little conversations. And anyway, it was kind of a nice distraction. That's great. It's kind of fun.
Well, it's a wonderful way to start conversation in a way that's also not threatening and it's not preachy. And
it was threatening. They wouldn't publish any of the cartoons in the newspaper. It was an oil town, North Battleford.
Yeah.
and we wouldn't go near it. It was just too touchy. Well, they get too many oil dollars in their advertising in their newspaper, so I can see
Yeah.
it. But anyway,
You can understand it, but I think it's still important to bring to light the kind of
exactly.
the issues and stuff so that other people can start talking about that too.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about some other stuff here. So
Yeah. Okay. So with all this stuff you're doing, I mean, it's like, it sounds, obviously you're a full-time artist and you're involved in a lot of really interesting things that are kind of political and environmental. How on earth do you find time to kind of also manage Artists in Canada, which is a really robust set of properties with websites and pension plans and directories and promotions, and
yeah.
maybe you can talk a little bit about the history of how that started, why it started, and then what it is.
Okay, so in 2000, that's 4 years after the internet started, we started Artists in Canada. So we've been out longer than some kids have been alive. So we're in our 20th year, starting our 21st year. So basically, we started out as an artist directory, and I thought, you know what, nobody knows any Canadian artists. How do you, at that time, we didn't have social media even. And it was like, how do we communicate? Like, how do I get somebody from Halifax able to talk to somebody in Vancouver? How can those people have a show? How can those curators find those artists? How can art galleries find those artists? How can people buy art from? So I thought, well, why don't we just build a database of names and start that off? Then I realized I can't afford to do this, better have a membership thing. So I said, very minimal. I don't think the membership's hardly gone up at all as far as dollar-wise. So I said, just keep it affordable and so people can be found. And then it gets indexed with Google, and you can be found multiple ways. Yes, you can be found by your website if they know your name. But on our site, they find you by city, by discipline, those kind of things. So
Well, I definitely know because, well, because I track my, I'm obviously an Artist in Canada member, and I track my analytics on my website. And yeah, every single time there's always at least a few hits that come from Artist in Canada to my website.
And those are people that you generally never get of your own in social media. So you have to understand, we get about 1.5 million views a month just from our site.
Wow.
So those are from people that are doing searches on the internet, looking for Canadian artists, which we are, and we're at the top of the page. And we separate everybody out by city. So we've got 80 different home pages. So Toronto, Vancouver, Edmonton, those kind of things. So the technical part. So I say you don't have to compete for an audience in Toronto if you're in Vancouver. So if somebody travels to Vancouver, they automatically get a Vancouver homepage. If
Yes, because I'm on Oshawa right now. I've got the Oshawa homepage right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it works. But you still get found in Ontario because you're listed in Ontario. That's how at some point, we're sort of like a library, and we got to bring the books out front so people know that they're there. And you got to be able to find what you're doing. So, and that's
it's nice that it's not. It's nice also that it's not overwhelming. Like some of them, there's so many choices and there's so many artists to go through that it almost defeats the purpose.
There already is that. I mean, you hit painters, and my gosh, there's lots of painters. So we're actually rebuilding the site again and again, constantly rebuilding. And I think ours are going to be probably more sales orientated when we start our new one, our art sales gallery for our members, so that they're a little, I won't say it not like an Etsy, but we're going to have a sales platform that they can sell directly off of. We have a PayPal portal that they can put their PayPal into and manage that. I'd really like the artists to manage their own content, and when things are sold, they take it off and they go about that route. So it's
well, and I think in this area of digital, that's the only way to do it. You know, like, because we obviously have taken Art Walk in the Square and put it online with an online store. But for myself as an artist too, if I'm involved in 6 or 7 shows, which are now all online, and all your work is online, there's no way that it can be managed unless the artists themselves is managing that inventory.
Yeah, they can't do it. So in 2015, we started a pension plan. I thought, well, we have all these artists. Nobody had the security of a pension. How do you get a pension? And the ironic thing about this whole thing is I worked on this pension plan when it started over 30 years ago. I can't believe it. And it's like, and I never bought into the damn thing. And I was like, what the
What?
hell was I doing? I said, I did all the brochures and literature, and I knew about stuff inside and out, and I never bought into this thing. What do I think? Oh, I'm going to live forever. I don't need this right now. I'll start it when I'm 40. I put excuse after. I got kids in dancing. I had a new car. I had a mortgage. I want to put a fence up. I had all these excuses. And I
Which
thought,
is, of course, the classic financial advisor thing is pay yourself first, right?
exactly.
Entrepreneurs, pay yourself first, and you never do.
No. Yeah, my kids are, all my kids have now is my paintings, because they're like storage bins for, I take my work and put it in their house.
That's good. Well,
but so I started this plan, but part of it was I knew the company really well. And they were called the Saskatchewan Pension Plan. And in the beginning, they were a Saskatchewan plan that was brought out by the government. And it was initially intended for housewives. So they would match, the housewife would put some money in, and they would match the money. Like I think there was $600 limit in the day, and you could match the $600, and they would put it in. It was a hell of a plan. Just, wow.
wow, that's really good return on investment.
Yeah, and then what happened was the government's changed, and then they changed the policy, and they rolled it into more of an independent plan, but they kept it the same name, and it's still regulated under the government, but it's not run. They don't administer it the same way. So if there's an election, we have to shut down the advertising on it. That kind of thing has to happen. But
right, yeah.
You know what? And here I'm selling a policy, right? This is less than 1% in fees. You don't get that. RBC, all those banks, they want way more money to invest your money. And people have to realize that's how those dollars are accumulated. It's invested for you, but very safely. I mean, this plan, the Calgary Police Force used this plan, the pension plan. I think they trade in over $500 million is traded. And you as an individual artist get the advantage of that trade. Because otherwise, by yourself, you would have nothing. And
exactly. Well, yeah, you probably don't have the income to put towards it, but you certainly don't typically have the time.
No.
I mean, or is that really where you want to spend your time, even if you have the expertise, right? So can you be from anywhere in Canada or just in Saskatchewan?
Anywhere in Canada, even Quebec. What it is, it's their investment people work with you individually for your portfolio. That's what it is. But it's tax deductible. But the other thing is nice is they actually will work with you. So say you only had a few dollars a month to put in, or all of a sudden you had, and I'll tell people when they get a grant or funding or those kind of things, add your pension plan and stuff into your proposal for your work. It's all part of doing business. You need to add a percentage of everything you go, like gas and oil, and your travel is all put in there. But make sure you put a piece of your pension plan, your disability plan, add that to the cost of, say you're doing a project and you got $5,000, add a few more dollars to it for those. They're all legitimate. You add those on as a business because it's time that you're spending on it. You have to be paid for it, and you have to be insured.
I think that's a great idea, and I think that's the kind of business advice that often artists don't have access to. That really it's super valuable.
They forget. They don't realize that you can do that. And I was just trying to think one other thing. Oh, they're very flexible. So like I said, 1 month you can't do it, you don't do it. Or you can only have lump payments. You can make a lump payment or small payment, or it's best to do a small payment regularly. They'll take Visa card. You'll get points. They take, like, it's...
As long as you can pay off your Visa card.
It's so easy. We have a link on our website. And the only thing we get from it is we're building our numbers up. I make nothing from this thing. All I am is a portal link. And we build our artist base up. And they like to see our numbers up because they spend a few dollars with us. They like to see a return, that they're getting some people back in doing it. So what we're going to do, I think, when we start selling work, we're going to start actually putting money into that artist pension plan. So if you're signed up to the pension plan and we sell a piece of your work online for you, we will put 10% up to 10% of that sale in the plan for you. That's your money. and it's yours when you're 60 or 65, and it's secured in value. So I don't think I was trying to get other galleries, commercial galleries, to do the same thing. I think when you sell something commercially in a gallery, even 5% should be put towards that artist pension plan,
Yeah.
plan of some kind.
Well, and I think it's a classic thing too. Is a lot of time, my background is in financial services, so I know we ran into this all the time,
Yeah.
where people kind of go, yeah, but I don't have enough money to really put in. It's like even a few $5 a week, right?
That's right.
That's a coffee.
Yeah.
You can probably afford that, and it's better than putting nothing in at all and waiting until you somehow have this big windfall where you're going to put a chunk towards your investments.
It never
right?
happens. I'll tell people.
It never happens, and there's always other things.
Happens.
Oh, my roof needs repairing or whatever.
Yeah, and I equate it to a cup of coffee, same kind of thing, right? And that $5 becomes $60 at the end of the year. It's not a lot of, $5 a week.
Yeah, but you start when you're 25, and when you're 60, you've got a nice, tidy little sum.
It adds up.
Yeah.
It's not a lot, but when you put it with, because a lot of artists don't pay CPP. Like I know artists that don't pay it. So they can't claim CPP at the other end if they've never paid into CPP.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about
Which I would argue then, if you're an artist, I just need to say this. If you're an artist who truly is out there and you're not paying CPP at the end of the year on your income taxes, you need to find yourself a better accountant, because that is not that expensive to sort of do per year. And at least then you've got some sort of a safety net when you retire. And I think that's critical.
And people have to realize that CPP is an annuity, right? You'll get a fixed amount of money for the rest of your life. And sorry, this earbud keeps coming out. So that's how this pension plan works as well. At a certain point, you can talk to your rep and say, I want to roll this into an annuity, or I want to take the payments monthly as to the
or
markets.
it becomes a RIF, when you get to be 65 or whatever. Yeah. Right.
So, or you can choose the annuity. If you think you're going to live really long, take the annuity, right? It's like, it's X amount of dollars a month for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
And if there's money left over, not like a CPP, it goes to your family. Like, so anything you've overpaid in there, it's paid out. Where CPP doesn't work like that. They still only give you $5,000 for a burial. Like that hardly buys the cheese and crackers, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can do it for $5,000. I just helped a friend, and there's no way he can do a burial for $5,000.
So they've never raised that up forever. So I'm saying CPP is good, but by the time you need 3 pension plans to afford to live, that's CPP, OAS, and either RSPs or something else in an investment that you can do. And if somebody's willing to manage that for you and help you and is not messing around with your numbers, but 1 or 2% makes a big difference if you're putting any amount of money in, and then it cures in value and goes up. So I really...
Well, and I think that brings up another interesting point too. I think a lot of times people are resistant to doing stuff like that because they don't know if the person that they're looking for and they can outsource their money to, they can trust, right? So with something like this program, it's been vetted, it's sponsored by the government, you've got other large organizations who have done the due diligence for you. So I don't have to worry about, does my neighbor who's a financial planner, is he honest? Is he going to do the work for me? Because the reality is you're going to be a small client for them anyway.
And you know how it is? It's like, I know this with my wife. It's like saying she hates changing hairdressers and breaking the heart of the one that she says, I don't like the way you do my hair anymore. I'm going to go to this person. My wife rarely does that. So it's like saying the same kind of thing. When you break up with your financial guy who happens to be your best friend or your neighbor, you kind of, I should be pulling my money away from him. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. How do I tell him that we're not friends anymore and I want my money back? Switched over.
Yeah. And
so when you deal with somebody that is just a business, right? He's a financial guy in Saskatchewan
he's motivated to make as high a profit margin on that pension as possible that stays within the risk parameters, right? So
and safe, like they really are.
Yeah.
They have a risk factor tolerance that you want to choose where you're going, and they'll advise you what you should do. But they advise. I think they've been averaging over 8% in the last 30 some years. Some years are
That's pretty
great, some
phenomenal.
years drop. It is, you know, in
Yeah,
a
well, the
long-term
TSX
buy.
isn't making great money every year either, so.
No, and you have to realize that if you have, say you had a Ford pension, say your pension plan was through Ford, they invest their money. That money is invested, or the teachers fund, like the
Yeah.
teachers pension, that's invested money somewhere to build the dollars up so that they can pay you those dollars back out. Everything is invested. Any kind of pension plan is invested, and teachers is huge. It's a $1 billion investment. Ontario
Yeah.
is huge. You know, stuff. Anyway, so I'm.
Yeah, so
That's my
okay, so
sales.
note, note to artists who are following us, make
Yeah,
sure that you look after your finances, make sure you pay yourself first, and it isn't about
yeah,
just buying the next set of art materials, it's also about investing for your future. And
yeah.
so artistincanada.com pension plan is a good thing to explore to do that.
Exactly.
The other thing is, what else? So I know, just maybe you can talk a bit more about some of the other services and resources and stuff that you have on Artist in Canada.
Well, you know, I don't want to, the sales part, we do have a premium membership and we have
Yeah, I know, I think the sales
membership
part is
levels.
good because that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
It's about
So
helping artists
we
be more
have,
professional.
yeah, we have membership levels, which for artists at different levels. Some want to reach out farther than others. Some are just say, you know what, I'm just starting out. I just want to just start. I just want to get my name out there. People find my website and do those kind of things. And so we'll do that aspect and we'll work with them. And they can choose however. If they choose the wrong one, I always message them back and say, well, we can correct this or we can do that with you. One way doesn't matter to me one way or the other. And it's just relative to their needs. And then the other thing is we started, we have two different website templates because a lot of artists never had a website. In the early days, they didn't have one and they wanted something that was equitable and if, you know, anyway, mine was we have a basic one and it's like less than $100 a year. And that included the membership. Membership's $50 for 1 year. So
Hard to go
you
wrong
got a
with
website.
that.
Yeah, $100 and you get indexed and you can sell on the site the whole thing. And I give you a little tiny little ad that you could put up on a different city if you want to promote if you're in that city. Or I think so. There's that part, and then we used to host .com and .cas as well. All these things, people realize that if we didn't do that, we couldn't afford to do what we're doing because that's a revenue stream that we need to pay for my IT bill, which is like way more money than I make like, per hour. My
Yeah.
God, for the amount of hours I put in. But it's so basically it pays my IT bill and my hosting bill, and they're kind of a break even. That was my goal, kind of break even, because I had a job initially in the day that I did my graphic design thing, and so we started one called Artistry. So if you went to our site and there's a free trial, I really believe in the free trial. Just get on there, try it out. I don't bug you. You can keep on going. You can build your website. It just sits there idle and build it, and you use your own .com that you have. It's just not live, and we can flip it over really quickly. I mean, right now it's like $175 hosting a website and a membership for $175 a year. So that's
That's a
where
good deal.
yeah. So and it's responsive.
There's really no excuse anymore for artists not having a website.
There's a lot of excuses.
There shouldn't be.
Like social media.
If you're
Instagram,
truly serious about running your art business, I mean, some people are not looking there to sort of promote and sell and stuff, but if you truly are looking at it to be a business, where you can still do what you love, but you need to sell, you have to have a website.
Last week when you were interviewing IP, right? Or PI Gallery.
PI.
Right? What did she say? I want to see a professional website.
Totally.
Well, yeah. She says, if I'm going to handle professional artists, I want to see what they look like professionally online. How are they presenting their work? Are they taking photos of their stuff how are they doing their work? How are they showing themselves? Because that is a first impression that gallery gets. So they either know that you're clunking around, but you're a great artist, but you got a clunky website, and they can accept that. Oh, that's still great art. But at some point, they kind of realize, did you not spend $12 and have somebody come in and fix this up, or have professional photos taken of your work, which saves way down the road for her, she didn't have to take photos. If you presented her something in 300 DPI, she could make her giclées. That's what she wanted to do, make giclées. A lot of artists maybe don't want to go that route, but at least she had the option, and she has also the option of reshooting that work and doing what she wanted, which is fine. So I think artists need to understand those little steps that they need to do, and we try to make our site as professional as possible. It's stage one, and as we with artistry, as we change the site, everybody gets an upgrade all at once. Like, that's the nice thing about the template. And we're responsive in design for phones, and you can sell online, and you can do all those things. You can load pictures online onto your phone. If you're at the lake and you happen to have something, you could load it. If you got a Wi-Fi or something, you could do it. So that became my parameter when I took a year to build the site, but it was like, he knew what he had to do at the end. He said it had to meet these criterion for our artists for stage one, for what we're doing. And then I said, you know what? I still want artists to have a membership. So I just threw the membership in. If you're committed to this artistry, here's your membership. And you can sell and do stuff online. So it was a nice way of bundling it. You bundle that package with them. And again, once the artistry's not paid for yet, I'm still like a bastard on my Visa card paying that thing off. But living off.
Okay, all you artists out there who don't have our websites yet and are looking for a nice, easy one that you don't have to code yourself,
put it on
go
your
check
Visa,
out
put it on
Artists
your
in
Visa
Canada.
card. Oh, man. Anyway, so, we've been doing this, like I said, for 20 years, and looking forward to another batch. I'm not, there's so many places doing stuff online now. And we started, actually, the one thing I forgot to tell, we started in the beginning of August. I started Artist in Canada Art on Facebook. I could say that on here on Instagram because they're owned by Facebook. Anyway, so...
Well, I'm not being paid by Instagram or Facebook to do this, so I think you can say whatever you want.
Man. So I think we got close to 2,000 people in that group already, and all you can do is show your work. You're not supposed to sell. No words. Keywords I get warning symbols that come up all the time because I manage this site as well daily. And there's some great artists out there, and they're joining. It's free. You just go on and put out a request. Make sure all you have to do is a Canadian living in Canada. You have to be an artist living in Canada. So you can be from any other country as long as you're living in Canada and you're an artist. You can post on there, and people are selling already off of there. But I think followers can be followers. They can follow and do everything, but they can't post. That's all. So if you're from another country, you can't do it. But you can follow and look at stuff. And I see people coming in from all over wanting to be a part of it, but I have to say no to some of those. So you just have to be a Canadian artist. Like that's it. And
that's great. Okay, that's on my to-do list today. I don't think I've done that yet.
Well, there's some great language going on, great conversations. I think it's great because I know a number of these people, and they're now meeting up with other people across the country, and you can see in their comments they've become a friend. So I love being a connector. I love the fact that these two people maybe will have a show, and I think that's sort of the future thing. What we plan on doing in Artists in Canada is having some online shows, two-person shows. So, but you have to be from different parts of the country. So those things will be part of our new platform. What's coming up, I'm hoping before the new year that we'll be able to do some of those things for our members that become like that. So it's just it's really nice. It's fun. There's lots of stuff going on.
That's amazing how much stuff you're working on. And we're getting almost to the end of our time because I just want to make sure I can have enough time to say this. So I always like to do Kate's quickies, so my quick questions.
Sure.
What piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, start earlier.
It's amazing how often that is for older artists.
Oh, my younger self. Yeah. You know what? I enjoyed the journey that I've been on. I've tried to be true to what I wanted to do. You end up going down a path sometimes, and you get, okay, I got to get off. I got to get back on the highway. I've been down this gravel road for too long, right? And you jump off and on. But those little journeys are part of what you are, right? So don't belittle the fact that you got sidetracked or you did something else, because they become additive to what you do, right? And I think you need to
You get
have that.
something out of every experience.
And you don't realize it until later on that you needed that kick in the pants. You needed that fall down over here. You needed that curator to say no, because it made you sharpen your pencil a little bit better. Somebody said clean up the design on your stuff, or if you do that, I'll give you a show. Like little hints that come along the way. And then I remember key points in my career, even as a designer, saying I could see all the young ones coming up from behind, and they were bringing skills that I didn't necessarily have at the moment, computer skills, for instance.
Yeah.
I said I just had to be better at managing what I had, but I couldn't ignore the fact that I had to do some computer skills. So I had to learn on my own my computer skills. The company didn't send me for training. It was I was a layout design artist. I mean, I designed. I think when I sent stuff to you, my stuff I designed was like Princess Margaret Hospital home lottery stuff. I designed over 100 lotteries across the country. So, but I didn't mean I did them all on a computer. I had them on a pad of paper and a marker, and I said, "This is the concept. This is the headline that I want it to say. This is what I want." Then I worked in our production department and our creative department, our writers and things. We pull them all together and we come up with the finished concept and we clean it up. And then our production people, we get the photography done. You go supervise that as an art director, and you pull the pieces together as a team, and then you build a product, and out it goes. And then your billboard and your social media people and all those things put things into place, right?
Right.
That industry's turned upside down. Anyway,
I know. Yeah, no, I came through that same industry, so I totally get it. Okay, my one big question I always like to ask: what would your big hairy ass goal be for the future?
Ooh. Oh, sunset. Oh, yeah. Wow. The future. I have my own. There's two. I live two lives here. One is an artist, and one is the director for Artists in Canada. I won't be able to do Artists in Canada all my life. So the big thing is to find the right corporation or group of artists or somebody to manage and run what I've built. I've done phase one of whatever it's going to be. Now, Artists in Canada, I'm hoping will end up growing into all medias, going into music, theater, poetry, writing. So
that's a pretty good hairy ass goal.
That is a massive one because a guy in a band has like 12 bands in 1 year. Like I don't know how I'd ever keep up with that. Finding out how you're going to get him a gig, you know. So that is that one. My other one, I think I just, you know what, I've been painting and doing stuff enough. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing. I don't think my aspirations of being in the AGO or the National Gallery has never really been one of the things on my list. I think I'd rather affect a lot of people regionally in their public galleries. That's basically with some of my, I guess, my politics as far as environment and a bit of a social responsibility that we should be doing as individuals, as people. And why do artists have to do this? I don't know. You think that would be our politicians would be doing this, but they're not doing a damn thing.
We're compelled. But I really do have to end the interview because I really want to make sure we can save it. I know I could have talked to you forever. I had to really watch the time on this one. But,
we'll have to, when this opens up, maybe, and next time I come to Toronto.
That would be great. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And so you can be reached at artistincanada.com, and your hashtag is Artists in Canada. What about your Paul Constable hashtag?
Yeah, paulconstable.com. That'll get me.
Okay. That makes it nice and easy.
Easy to do. Okay. Sounds
okay.
great.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks,
and we will talk to you later. Have a great Thanksgiving. Well, that was wonderful. Hopefully you learned a lot with that. I think there was a lot of information about kind of your future in terms of investments and looking after your future financial piece of it. So hopefully you will go back and take a look at it again. We'll be on my YouTube site, and we will see you next week at 11 o'clock. Have a great day. And for all you Canadians, have a fabulous Thanksgiving this weekend. It's supposed to be gorgeous.